Hello everyone and welcome to our latest Whirlwind Heights forecast center update. And in today's forecast we're going to talk about more severe weather across the United States over the next few days, including a few tornadoes, perhaps a couple of strong tornadoes possible tomorrow, as well as damaging winds and some very large hail. And then after this, we'll also talk about what I'm expecting for hurricane season in this forecast. And then we'll also talk about the wildfires in the southwest. So without much more to talk about in this intro, let's roll in right with the forecast. And guys, I'll start off with today's risks of severe weather, which is a slight risk of severe weather for North and South Dakota. And our tornado risk, we don't have one, but I would not rule out a few brief tornadoes. Or not a few brief, but a brief tornado or two. Our damaging wind risk, we have a 15% for North and South Dakota, a little bit of Minnesota there, and we have a 15% for South Carolina. And then our hail risk, we have a 15% CIG1 hail risk. Mostly for South Dakota, a little bit of southern North Dakota, mainly for western South Dakota, western central. And our day 2 outlook right now, we have a 5% CIG 1 tornado risk, which means that a strong tornado or two cannot be rolled out, and if the correct conditions come together, I wouldn't even roll out a tornado outbreak here. Now, that could be a strong, a small-scale tornado outbreak either way, but there is a risk that we could see a pretty big tornado outbreak, but it's conditional. We'll get into that here in a minute. And then our wind risk, we currently have a 15% here across Minnesota and Sioux City, Sioux Falls, eastern and central North Dakota, and some of northern South Dakota. And then our hail risk is a 15% CIG1 hail risk for a lot of eastern and central North Dakota, northern and central South Dakota, and then northwestern Minnesota. And where large hail can be in place. All right, and then our day 3 outlook is currently a marginal threat of severe weather. One stretched across the Midwest and another in the Northeast. Probabilistic, nothing significant, and then we don't have any more data after that. So I'm expecting to go into possibly a pretty quiet conditions, but we're going to see with our model data, our computer model data. Our temperatures right now across the United States are oh my gosh. Right now across the United States, there's a bit of heat across the southern Great Plains. And then, let me go to a different model here. Give me a second. Alright, and then, so here's what our models are showing for today, which we do have a large heat wave coming to the eastern central United States, where temperatures can skyrocket to the 90s. I really like using this model. It's not so confusing. Over the next week or so, there's going to be absolutely some heat across the United States. And that's going to shift to the Northeast eventually. And then, our humidity values are going to be we're going to have high humidity. And also, problem is, our humidity is going to be pretty high, and during the nighttime, temperatures may not even get out of the 80s, so you may not even get a break from the intense heat, which is a problem because your body does not get a break from the heat, and that could create some health issues. So if you have respiratory issues, limit your time outside. Here's your trough or your jet stream, which we have a low pressure system right now in the north. We got some, and then we're winds throughout the United States. We could see some in the Great Plains, and then across, I could see some severe weather happening in this general area. And then generally across the United States, we can see some isolated severe weather. And here, I wouldn't rule out some severe weather in Arkansas and Louisiana, or here in this narrow area, or in this area, we could see some isolated severe weather, and as well as this area. We'll just see what this has in store. But again, that's your jet stream, and then so those areas I circled, I would not rule out potential severe weather over the next week or so, or just some storms in general. All right, and cloud cover. This is going to be important because I know people are right now shooting fireworks. There are probably people shooting fireworks throughout the country as we speak. And then it's going to be pretty cloudy across the United States. Wait, hang on. And then let me talk about our precipitation values. Precipitation, and I'm looking for that right now. And I don't know if this has that. Do you not have precipitation? Nope. You do not. Okay, I'm not a big fan of the GFS, but I guess we're gonna use this one. Total precipitation. Here's your precipitation across the United States over the next few days, which there's been some flooding in Kentucky and Tennessee. And by the end of and here in July, this is showing a big surge of rain all across the southern Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley. But this is pretty far out. We don't know if this is going to happen. But this is showing that we could see a bit more rain here in Kentucky and Tennessee. We've had that flooding recently. I don't think it's going to be anything as much as that rainfall we saw, all that flooding that we saw recently in Kentucky. But we could see a bit more rain over the next few days. And then, yeah. So, now let me talk about what I'm expecting for hurricane season. We do have, right now, a low chance of a tropical disturbance, but this is low. It's unlikely. Why is it showing us this satellite when that's not even showing us the main thing? I do think that the Pacific Ocean right here to the out west of Mexico could be a little bit active this year. Across the Atlantic Ocean, I'm expecting a pretty low hurricane season, but we can see a couple tropical storms. We did see Tropical Storm Arthur, but I do not think Bertha or whatever it is, I don't think that's coming over the next few days. So generally for over the next 7 days, the chances of tropical storm development are low. If there's any more updates, we'll let you know. But since we have an El Nino, our El Nino is developing. So what's happening is, that's going to create wind shear that goes into the Atlantic Ocean. And I know that with wind shear, tornadoes increase, but with hurricanes, it's the opposite, because it could tear apart the hurricane. Now, We are currently in the process of switching, and we are in hurricane season. So I wouldn't rule out a few hurricanes in between now and late July. But but what I think is going to happen is this hurricane season, the earlier part of the hurricane season is actually going to be more active than what usually it is. I think our peak hurricane season this year is actually going to be in July, not in September. That's just my prediction. But if you enjoyed this forecast, let me down in the comments below, or let me know in the comments below before I leave. We do have some wildfire activity going on in Utah, and I'm not sure if these are wildfires, but they could be. It's the smoke from those. But I do know there were wildfires going on in Utah. I guess that those are still going on. We do have a significant wildfire risk, so if you live in the southwest, I'm not saying take urgent action and evacuate now, but I would prepare just in case you do need to evacuate for a few days, or perhaps a week. Just prepare for that, and be sure to be careful with anything like matches or any sort of fire, or be careful with a campfire. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't have a campfire, but I am seeing that. But we have a particularly dangerous situation, red fire weather watch. It expires tomorrow. But I do think wildfires are a bit of a threat here. That's the end of today's forecast. Spread the gospel, and I'll see you in the next one.